them know that we are the American Indians. Baby. Copper color Indians, baby. A real Indian, American Indian is me, not from Africa. Remember that.
African Americans here, but they recently moved here from places like Kenya, Ethiopia, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Zaire. But now the brother whose family's lived in this country for generations, occupying space in all the locations, New York, Miami, LA, Detroit, Chicago, even if he's wearing a dashiki and sporting an afro. And if you go to Africa in search of your race, you'll find out quick, you're not an African American. You're just a black American in Africa taking up space. Why you keep trying to attach yourself to a continent where even if you got the chance to go and you went, most people there wouldn't even claim you as one of them, as a purebred daughter or son of them. Your heritage is right here now, no matter what you call yourself or what you say. And a lot of people died to make it that way. There are some...
Happy Friday. Oh, man, happy Friday. Smash that like button. Enots, Stephanie Burke, Weezane, how are ya? Hey, smash that like button, y'all. Hey, Juan, what's good? Oh, dude, peace, y'all. What's going on? I took a little few days so I can get my voice back. It's back. How are y'all? It's Friday. And I'm off to plantation. I didn't even have to work. I was off yesterday and today. And I just slept. That's all I did was sleep. Today is the first day I got up. I got up, but I didn't do anything. I just rest. My body was burnt out from work. It's just too much work to be doing. But y'all smash that like button because we're going to get it in. Even though A1 Butt still keeps sending subliminal messages. I was half asleep watching his show. Hey, big dog. Oh, thank you, SB. And thank you. Even though he keeps sending his subliminal messages, that shit is so funny when you in like your 40s. Hey, big dog. And you send out messages, I'm going to break some motherfucking buddy's jaw. I guess maybe that's our culture. So today I figured I wanted to talk about, and I do have some slides today. Hey, big dog. I do have some slides that I'm going to go through. And you know what? They're just pictures that we're going to talk about. The slides that I have. The topic today is what started us against us and our culture. What something popped off where we're a people where we hate each other really bad. And I for the life of me, everything that we do is learned behavior. And it's like the behaviors that we continue, it's a continued pattern of practice. And I'm trying to get to the root of where it comes from. And with that being said, I want to know what the hell is our culture as a people. You know, the one that I'm putting a real big X in is African culture. That's not our culture. It's not. It's absolutely nothing from what I see that we ever practice as a people. So that is just a complete wipeout. When we grew up as little children in our homes, our parents didn't sit us down and teach us things about Africa. No one in my home, my grandma, my great grandma, my mom, my dad, my dad's side of the family, no one sat us down in my home in my upbringing, and I was born in the very late 60s, no one sat me down and like talked about anything to do with Africa. Nobody said anything in the house. The word just didn't come up either. It really didn't. In fact, the only time it came up in our home was when Roots was coming on TV. The very first time. Because after that, after we watched Roots the first time, no one really wanted to watch that again. But even after that movie, I mean, no one in our house or my grandmother talked about like anything referencing Africa. I mean, if, if you're going to tell a folk tale and everybody's nana or uncle or grandpa or auntie or somebody talks about, give a folk tale, no matter what the tale is, when you had um a big family cookout, nobody sat down and talked about anything to do with Africa, which is interesting, and it says a lot. No one in my home ever said, like, boy, I really would like to get over to Africa to see what life would have been like over there. No one. It just, because you know why? It didn't apply to us. It wasn't that. If I really believe, if if Africa had anything to do with our life and our history, our family would have mentioned something. They didn't even talk about us being slaves. They never talked about anything like that ever happening in our history. They didn't tell any stories of their grandparents, like my great great grandmother. She didn't talk about a history of, and she was born in 1878. She didn't talk to my mom or my grandmother about anybody in her history coming over here from Africa on a ship or at all, period, or being held as a prisoner or nothing like that. The only thing I ever heard my family sit down and talk about is the racism between brown people and white people. That's it. And, like the 1960s movement with the water hose, but we saw that on the news with the water hose being sprayed on people in Selma, Alabama for them protesting. That was it. And just continuous racism. Um, our culture all seemed to be the same in the community that we lived in when we were um my grandmother did tell us stories about, when they lived, how they lived, like they didn't like get money in their pockets where they would go to the grocery store. uh the only way they would got that is if like they did some side work. um my grandmother was really good at gardening. So she had that in her. My great grandmother and them, all of them, they were very Southern, very South Carolina. I No one talked, and I would really like you to even really think about that. That's something to really think about. If in your household has anybody ever just like talked about um an African story of anything or just mention it. I've never heard an African story in my home because the only thing my grandmother ever told us is, Africans. And my grandmother had a swift mouth, cussed like a horse like me. She said, you ain't no damn African. You ain't no African. Because we, like I said, we cried on the movie Roots because that was like the real first um brown people story. And we sat down as families across the states when that movie came on. So everybody really started believing that they came off ships, and it just wasn't freaking so. And when we cried about Kuta Kinte being captured in chains and shit like that, we cried. And that's when, our grandmother said, "Y'all ain't no Africans." And we was like, "We not." We didn't know. We just thought, because the people, we just assumed it to be. And I think that's just a fact, that that's the only time in my history that I can recall our family having an African conversation, is when that movie came out. And after that, it was nothing else, because at that time, our granny addressed us, "You're not African." So that being said, I never identified, because, like I said, when I was a little girl, it it was, sadly to say, if somebody called you African or black or any of those names, you would be in a fight, and the people in the community would watch you, like your little friends from the sandbox. And if someone said you little black or whatever, then there was a fight, and the whole neighborhood wanted to watch the fight, because you called them one word, black. So those were fighting words. Okay. So I don't have an African story. Now, which brings me to um why Umar is talking about African stories. I mean, I would really like to know if his family sat him down and said, "You're from Africa." I really, seriously. And the only reason why people are saying that is because our skin is brown. And anybody, I don't care who the hell you are, anybody that takes a DNA test, you are foolish. Seriously. You can't, you have to understand. And it's just very clear. You cannot trust the people who gave you 8 race identities to literally say, "Oops, you're Aboriginal from the Americas," after a blood test result. They are the people who gave you multiple race identities. Honey, when they give you that test, they're definitely putting you in Africa with that test. They don't want you to know you're from here. So for Omar to have a doctorate, I'm like, dude, are you serious? Literally, are you serious? How is it possible that you have a doctorate's degree and you're believing on a DNA test, a DNA test that puts you in another landmass? Why? And the people giving you the results are the very people who gave you all those different race identities. It's got it. It has to be some type of consequence for our history and the lies. So many lies told. And also in the news, DeSantos wants to get rid of African American studies. I think that's a great thing, because that's not our history. Well, now I'm hearing there. This is the thought. They want to make it an elective rather than something mandatory. I don't know, something to do with that. Let me just pull that up. Okay, let's see. Um, okay, yes, here it is. I'm gonna pull this up really quick. Let's see what it says. Okay. Um, okay, I think I have it, you guys. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. Oh, here it is. I'm gonna blow it up. Oh, Jesus. I got to do the share screen first. Fair use. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It's a clip from PBS News about this Florida. Just listen, you guys. Oh, did I click the damn button? Oh, I really suck today. I'm serious. Listen to this first. Okay, here we go.
Is defending his administration's decision to block a course on African American studies from the state's public schools. The fight is just the latest in an ongoing culture war in that state that has become a hallmark of the DeSantis agenda.
Fair use.
With another 4 years in office came a promise from Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis.
Florida is where woke goes to die.
And just weeks into his second term, the administration has a new target: banning public schools from teaching advanced placement African American studies, a pilot course by the College Board focused on Black history, arts, science, and culture. The state's Department of Education wrote this month the course significantly lacks educational value, adding
Facts.
that they would consider a revised curriculum with lawful, historically accurate content. Today, Governor
Facts.
DeSantis said teaching Black history is required in Florida schools, but added this course amounted to indoctrination.
This course on Black history, what's one of the lessons about? Queer theory. Now, who would say that an important part of Black history is queer theory? That is somebody pushing an agenda on our kids. And so when you look to see they have stuff about intersectionality, abolishing prisons, that's a political agenda.
The move stems from the so-called Stop Woke Act DeSantis signed into law last year to clamp down on diversity and inclusion efforts by schools and businesses.
We believe in education, not indoctrination.
Okay, facts. And I'll put this link. Copy. I'll put this link in the chat room. Uh, because we sent out those declarations, and a lot of the declarations that we've sent out in the Aboriginal community address the false teachings. I mean, we sent out some really deep um, declarations to Congress, all the congressmen, all the congresswomen, people from all sorts of parts, um, all sorts of communities here in YouTube, in the Aboriginal community, Indian community, whatever. Anybody that sent in the declaration. Ours, I could tell you that it was very, very detailed. Ours, and letting them know the lies. And we got real specific. The lies that were taught about our history as us being brought over here on slave ships is false. And in the nerve of the HR 40 committee to try and um, give reparations to who? Because we're not African Americans or descendants of African slaves. That's just not true. So we were very specific in our declaration when we got those out to all the congressmen, all the governors across the states, all the vital statistics offices. I mean, we really went in, and to this date, we're still, that declaration is so detailed. And I know he got it because they're in Florida. And it was a really great process because the great thing about Wyatt, we're in the different 50 states. So in doing so, we were able to get it to our congressmen and congresswomen, because there's 400 something members of Congress, and the quickest way to do it is to have people that live in those states send that certified declaration, and that they read it, and we were really on point and explaining, I mean, literally explaining. As a matter of fact, give me a one in the chat room if you would like me to read the declaration that every senator in Congress, every representative, listen, every governor, every lieutenant governor, the attorney general, Washington D.C., the president, the king in London, or whoever they are. Give me a one if you would like me to read the declaration that we sent as Wire, and even individual people that we sent to um all these people in power, including the HR 40 committee. I will read it right now because it's an interesting document. And one would have to say, and not only did Wire send it, other people sent it. Other individual Aboriginals in the community have sent out a declaration declaring their identity. And okay, I got some ones. Oh, Ice Water, you no, yeah, hi. Okay, so everyone wants me to read it. I'm gonna read it. And some of the information in this declaration can be very, hey, Chief Police, I'm gonna read the declaration, and you can imagine, just imagine the look on these senators and representatives' face while reading this document. Because once you start reading our declaration, and this is a fact, you can't stop reading it. It's not something you just look at and just throw down. It's not. So I'm gonna go head on and read this declaration, and I want you to. I would let me get it up. Let me get it up. I know it's in here. Yep. Okay. I think I got it. Do 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 do. Okay, because we. Oh no, this isn't the one. I'm sorry. I want the real detailed one, which is this one. This one is a detailed one. Yep, this is it. All right, so I'm gonna do a share screen, and I'm gonna read it because it just it is what it is, and I think it's important. And like I said, anyone from the public that wants to um, declare their race identity, we have a declaration on our website for you to print out, and it's for the individual, and you can read it and revise it to your liking. But we do have one up there where you can, and I'll show you where you could get that from. It's not for our tribal members, but it's for the individuals in our community, in the public, that wish to declare their identity. We put up a sample one, and you can use it as it is. Just fill in the correct information on it and send it out certified. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the declaration, because after reading it again and again and again, you're like, damn, this really went to all these representatives. And he had to read it for him to say, take it out the goddamn curriculum. So let's read a little. Let's read it a little bit. This declaration, I, I, we had to do. So here we go. It says, declaration to correct our identity and reestablish our natural rights for those misclassified as. And at the time we sent it, it was coloreds, Negroes, mulattoes, blacks, and African Americans via the Racial Integrity Act of 1924 and other state and local government entities within the United States Corporation of America and or the United States of America. This declaration dated July 4th, 2020 is in response to the intrusion, killing, indoctrination through the United States of America's educational systems, forced integration due to the surrendering of ongoing wars and reclassification of our ancestors' race identity. And you see how that stands out. The copper colored North American Indian nation, whose ancestors' race identity was classified as follows within the United States Corporation of America: coloreds, Negroes, mulattoes, blacks, African American, over a period of 4 or more centuries. This declaration does not include the Native Americans created by the United States Corporation of America in the early 1900s, Africans, or European descendants. Thus, we were senators and representatives of our states in the 17 and 1800s, and our true identities were washed away as if we never existed and replaced with false race identities and lied that we all died of diseases such as the Spanish flu. That's not true. We exist today. Due to the colonization of the land area commonly known as the Western Hemisphere, more specifically, North America and the surrounding islands. The copper colored North American Indians of these lands have been systematically gentrified and misclassified as descendants of black racial groups associated with Africa. For example, mulatto, Negro, colored, black, and African American. We copper colored North American Indians of the commonly known area of the Western Hemisphere, also known as the Americas, retain all of our rights as the true first people of North America. We are not Moors. We have no affiliations with that organization, nor are we a kickoff of that organization. We are not a religious organization, nor are we a racist cult group. We are a humble people seeking to educate our people of their true identity rather than the false historical education that was established by the United States Corporation of America via its educational systems across the Americas and the many religious organizations overseeing the civilization and colonization of our people. There have been countless wars, crimes, and other atrocities committed against our people that need to be redressed and corrected by the United States governing body, including but not limited to identity correction, land appropriation that is held in trust, travel, the return of artifacts, and the right to self govern. Therefore, we have reestablished ourselves within North America. All so called black people in the Americas are not descendants of Africa. This misclassification of our identity, colored, Negro, Black, mulatto, African American, is the result of social programming and indoctrination and is not and will not be accepted by the North American Indian in any manner, whether it be personally, socially, politically, or legally. Any attempt to continue such reckless behavior will be seen as a conspiracy to commit a fraud, identity theft made by foreigners, a hate crime, and defamation against the copper colored American Indians of the Western Hemisphere under international law and the American Constitution. The United States Corporation of America, its nation states, affiliates, and sponsors have been committing many sorts of crimes against the American Indians of this land without as much as one warning for the killing, raping, lynching, displacement, and scientific experiments. The list of immoral and criminal activity is almost too long to imagine, and there must be an accounting and remedy. The majority of white African and European descendants in the United States of America believe that the copper colored North American Indians, misclassified as black, were all brought here on slave ships by their ancestors, not realizing that we were here long before their ancestors existed. And the only reason that they believe the false narrative is because of the great effort to cover up factual history through the United States of America's educational systems, the news, media, and television entertainment. Our ancestors were threatened and lynched if they passed down their true identity as the first people to their descendants. Rather, when they were forced off their farmlands into the United States of America Corporation, they were forced to identify themselves on all paperwork, applications, forms developed by many corporations established by foreigners within and under the United States of America's corporation as Indians, coloreds, Negroes, mulattoes, black, and currently African Americans. There are millions of acres of land held in a trust by the governing bodies of the Americas that are the birthright of the copper colored North American Indians of the land. And we demand that such land be returned in good faith and without obstruction, harassment, or oversight. Since the copper colored North American Indians have been systematically removed and gentrified from their lands by fraudulent practices and intimidation, we feel it would be in the best interest of all involved to give back our land and allow us to live in peace. We, as the copper colored North American Indians of the Western Hemisphere, more specifically North America, being of sound mind, body, and spirit, reserve all rights to self govern to the best of our ability without the need for regulation, obstruction, oversight, or harassment from the governing bodies. We will operate as civilized, humble, and responsible people with no intentions to overthrow, cause havoc, or issue towards the federal government, its affiliates, the 5 federally recognized tribes or other federally recognized groups established within any of the territories of the United States of America Corporation. We, as the copper colored North American Indians of what is commonly known as the Western Hemisphere, North America, reserve all our rights to travel anywhere and any time of our choosing within the Western Hemisphere without obstruction, harassment, corporate identification, or citizenship of any state sponsored territories. We also have our nation's membership identification, identifying the members of our active and good standing nation. Um, we, as copper colored North American Indians, have been subjected to what is commonly known as paper genocide or paper terrorism by the United States Corporation of America, the local governing bodies, and their affiliate Masonic partners, orders. For example, policy writers, enforcers, state and local vital statistic offices policies, and other corrupt actors. We will no longer accept your aggressive and, in most cases, detrimental paper slash computer rulership as those laws formerly enforced by Walter Ashby Plecker, 1924 Racial Integrity Act, identity classifications, etc., as specifically outlined above. We are the copper colored North American Indians of North America. We will no longer hide our identity due to former threats imposed on our grandparents, in parentheses, ancestors. Every copper colored North American Indian, man, woman, or child, have a natural right to protect themselves under any circumstances. Every copper colored North American Indian, man, woman, or child, are not part of any so called sovereign citizen established groups slash religions, etc., extremists, cult, religious group, racial hate groups, or negative movements of any kind. We are a humble people and have no desire to erupt havoc against any person or persons slash citizens under the United States Corporation of America. The following leaders and organizational groups: Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Black Lives Matter, Louis Farrakhan, former President Barack Obama, Martin Luther King's family members, or any religious leaders not known in the future are not representatives for the copper colored North American Indians, man, woman, or child, under any circumstances. We are individually and as a whole representative of ourselves at all levels. We, the copper colored North American Indians, are of sound mind and hereby agree to this declaration of our own free will and respectfully sign our signatures on the attached petitions. Our names, home addresses, and telephone numbers will be noted on the attached petitions, and you may contact us individually at any time for further verifications. Excuse me. The president, past and future, of the United States Corporation of America, all governors, mayors, senators, representatives, congressmen, congresswomen, select men and select women, state motor vehicle departments, all state offices, where race is requested on all forms and applications, including the Department of Social Security offices within the 50 states of the United States Corporation of America. We will begin the healing of our nation by visiting all local towns, state offices, vital statistic offices to correct our birth certificates, marriage certificates, etc., to reflect our true race, which is North American Indian. To the President, past and future, of the United States of America, all governors, mayors, senators, representatives, congressmen, congresswomen, select men, and select women. Although we are truthfully the original Aboriginal Indians of North America, based on primary sources such as official records and documents, legal dictionaries, encyclopedias, state policies, state laws, federal laws, Supreme Court decisions, and case law that directly affect our people. We are not affiliated with the five federally recognized tribes: Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Seminole, Creek. Although many of our ancestors were erased out of those tribes and replaced by many foreign citizens. Therefore, we do not wish to be a part of those foreign developed tribes created by the United States Corporation of America. We reserve the right to form our own resourceful tribes slash nations, whether it's an individual family tribe and or nation, and or a rightful individual sovereign copper colored North American Indian status. To the President, past and future, of the United States of America, all governors, mayors, senators, representatives, congressmen, congresswomen, selectmen, and select women. Although our ancestors assimilated into slash under the United States Corporation of America as citizens, we will continue to maintain our rightful indigenous status and rights to North America, classifying our people as blacks slash African Americans forces us to become foreigners of this landmass. Our ancestors did not migrate to North America on slave ships from Africa. We are the indigenous people of this landmass, North America, and we were overthrown by this government and the British and French Empire's militia. Our ancestors fought in wars, both in favor and unfavorable, over our beautiful land. We will not identify ourselves as blacks, African Americans, Negroes, mulattoes, or coloreds, as our ancestors assumed those names based on threats of violence, being hung by racist groups of the northern and southern parts of America. Walter Ashby Plecker's abuse of power as a state registrar, Virginia, who persuaded the 50 states to follow his initiatives. And most recently, Mr. Jesse Jackson's personal recommendation in the 1980s. We signed no petitions or documents for his recommendation, nor are we members of his religious organizations or groups. Then, in bold writing, therefore, we have a right to individually choose as a people whether to maintain or withdraw our citizenship within the United States Corporation of America and or maintain our Aboriginal indigenous status on North American landmass, Western Hemisphere, as outlined in all federal court cases and treaties and all federal and state and local treaties with the North American Indians of the Americas. We are not foreigners of America, Western Hemisphere. Rather, we are the copper colored races found here by the Europeans. To the President, past and future, of the United States of America, all governors, mayors, senators, representatives, congressmen, congresswomen, select men, and select women. We are a peaceful and humble people and will educate our children and grandchildren, families, etc., regarding our history. We will establish our resources, newspapers, educational centers for our people in an effort to begin the healing process of our people from this long held, silenced information due to past harsh threats, wars, etc., as outlined above. And honey, that was our statement. And we mean that. We mean that to our souls. For real. That addressed our history and this landmass in a very condensed version. And I felt the need, I felt that we really needed to address this government because we don't want them getting it twisted. And that's a fact. We're not having it. We need to let them know in detail what was done to our people and what continues to be done to our people. And we're not going to tolerate it. And on a side note, we also let them know, oh no, we're definitely not going to have this. When you make laws where a man can change into a woman and a woman can change into a man and we can't be ourselves, oh no, honey. Oh no. There's a difference. Ours is the truth. We can't tell our truth, but they could transition their lives into a lie. Oh no. We will no longer hide under anybody's mask. We've been wearing a mask before this whole epidemic. As a people, we've been wearing a mask. We've been reclassified 8 times in this land of our own land. This is why we have such a hard time as a people and we fight against each other. Because you got half of our people saying, "Hey, we came on these ships. That happened to us." That's bullshit. Where's the proof? Don't come to me with no 23andMe. That is not proof. And we must declare it. This government knows who we are. That's a fact. They know we didn't come here on slave ships. They know that the only relationship when it comes to our people in Africa is when they made a deal with some Negroes to send them over there and with some white guys and colonize and set up Liberia to try to get the Indians out of here. And I already read that to y'all where the Indians were like, oh, hell no. They made an offer for the Indians to go over there. Who you think they were? Back then in that time, when the offer was being made, it was made to the Indians to go over to Liberia and set it up. Isn't it funny how when they made the offer to go over and set up Liberia, they made that offer to the Indian. So who the hell you think the Indian was? Maybe we should. I read the document to you. What is it? Well, maybe we should send them over to somewhere where they could start their own. No, why? Because you took over here, so maybe we should send them somewhere over. That's nothing but another British colony. However, they did gain their independence over there, but those Negroes came from over here and went over there because they took the offer. Now, the funny shit is this: when Joe Biden gave that $55 trillion, or however much it was, Liberia wasn't included in that because they know who them niggas are. They was not included in that. Of all of Africa, they're not included. So that's why I say to you, Pan Africans, y'all really, I'm not, see, it's not even funny anymore. I'm not gonna, you can't, it's not funny anymore. It's to the point where we really have to help these Pan Africans. And this is a fact. We have to help them because if it's not a smack in the face that Joe Biden literally overlooked you, and they know that you Pan Africans, HR 40 committee people was attempting to fight to get reparations. You're not getting it. He let you know who the descendants of African slaves were. That's why he gave the money to Africa. It ain't you. They overlooked every last one of you. And how long have you been fighting for reparations in the disguise of dashikis? They ain't giving you shit. Yo. And they're very right not to. They shouldn't even be giving it to Africa, period, off our tax dollars. We can file a lawsuit for that. That's our tax money. You're giving Africans over in Africa. Our tax dollars. It should be lawsuits filed. Seriously. From everybody in America, that affects, it don't matter what your goddamn color was. You got a job, even if you work and Stop and Shop pushing a buggy cart in the store, your tax dollars went over to Africa. We should all be protesting that shit is reverted back here and given to the rightful Indians, Aboriginals of this landmass. How dare you? Facts. So that declaration went literally statewide. And we're still sending them. We're still getting people in the community. Once, we at Wyatt get people to understand who they are, and automatically, that this is how and who you are. Once we lecture you and get you to understand what was done and who you are, it automatically sticks to you and never leaves you. Once you connect with your ancestors, that bloodline is deep. You're never going to go back to identifying as nothing else but the people of this soil. Nothing will ever be able to trigger you. It's like it's an everlasting thing that's never going to turn back. Oops, I made a mistake. We're African. That is just not in the picture. Once you feel it, it's a bloodline thing. And you feel that with your ancestors. Once you learn everything that was going on in our history, you began using your common sense. You began understanding your bloodline literally. Your ancestors literally talk to you. And that's a fact. Once you find out who you are, that's what's called waking up, a great awakening. There is no way humanly possible that anybody could ever, well, my granny didn't allow it, put an African story on my life. We're different people. We're very different. And that we're not different because Africans are over there and we're over here. We're just different. We are not the same people. And that's a fact. We're not the same people. We have skin color like them, but we're not the same people. And that's not to be mean. We're just not. We are of this soil. This landmass is our soil. And it is our job because see, our grannies, a lot of our grannies, if your granny is alive and she's well over 70s, you should be literally with Nana, your granny, right now, writing down everything she can remember. And I am so ever grateful for myself that I was able to sit down with my grandmother, who was born in 1931, and her aunt, who was born in 1900, I want to say. She was the last living of the 16 kids that my third generation grandmother had in South Carolina. She was the last one alive. And I sat down and wrote all these names down. I just don't know how she just got into her story, but she was elderly. And I remember that in my head. And I was able to successfully do our genealogy. And everything that's said matches everything. Everything comes back into play. When I tell you that they tried to wipe our history out, literally, literally they tried. I even have reason to believe that we never stop speaking. The more I'm studying, I just really have reason to believe that we're still speaking our language because it's funny how, and I'm not saying this to be racist or anything. I'm not a racist, but I could literally sit in a room with a group of white people that are not accustomed to being around brown people like myself. And that's because they culturally were what do you call it? Shield in their own communities in the suburbs. And then when you get to work with them and you're talking to them, and could you fucking believe that? Literally, they really don't understand what you're saying. You got to repeat it to them because they don't understand you. And it's not being racist at all. And I always wonder, I'm like, I know I'm speaking English. And I know I'm using the right choice words. But why don't they understand what I'm saying? Something's not right. I think that when we speak to other cultures and races, we sound very different, even though we're speaking English. And I have to say that we do because we're so accustomed to hearing each other. We don't sound different, but to other people, we sound very different. We have accents and everything that we're not even aware about. Now, when I spoke to a woman from Africa, I hear her accent. She's speaking English. I understand her. But they say I have an accent and how we sound very different. And when I'm speaking with them, they're going like this because they're trying to understand me. So literally some things that says a lot to me. It says a lot. I'm speaking English, but they say to me, you know, you have a you have an accent. And they say that, you know, you don't sound like white people. You don't sound like white people when you speak. So I'm trying to figure out, well, what do I sound? What do I sound like? Only thing I could think of, it must be just Southern. Could it be something to do with Southern? I don't know. But I'm looking in deeply into this language thing because we spoke whatever language we're speaking is, yes, accent speaking English. It, it's something, Amani. It's when we speak, it's something very different. And I used to get so angry. Like, I know you heard what I said, but our choice words means something else to them, and it means something else to us. That's what it is. Yes, it's called Ebonics. So it sounds threatening to them, but not to us because we understand it. And I'm like, wow. And it's not that we're dumb in English, it's just that when we speak, the words we choose to use in a complete sentence, it means something. When we say it, we understand it between each other. But when they're trying to understand what we're saying, it doesn't mean the same thing to them. Our verbs, our nouns, but they don't get the verbs. They get the subject, but they don't get the predicate of our words. Y'all know, let's go back. I'm really, really learning something about our tongue. Linguistics, right? So that, whether here or there. So all I'm saying to you guys is it doesn't hurt to declare who you are. You need to make that publicly known to the people of your states represent. You need to clear that shit up. And you got to let them know. So Wire offers this. I'm going to put this link in the chat, not to the website, in case somebody has an interest in, you know, getting a declaration. www. So you could do it for yourself. Okay, there's the link to the website. I'm going to put my website up and show you how to get to it easily. It's me. It's me. I see you and Anthony in there. I'm sorry. I was reading and running my mouth. Let's see. Um, okay, so let me do a share screen. Damn. Okay, here it is. So when you get to our website, you want to go to the political tab. I hope this shit turns and works. Yeah, it did. And then you want to download the declaration. It's going to download. And then I don't think it'll share. So let me get it up and then do a reshare. Share screen. This is for an individual. Our tribe members do not need to use this form because we already did it. I believe this is it. Is this it? Doo-doo. I thought I pulled it up. Nope, nope. Oh, damn. I have to go back there and get it. I thought I pulled it up. Um, where you guys at? All right, Chrome. Here it is. I'm sorry. So when it downloads, it's gonna look like this. Let me make this bigger. When you get to our site, it's literally gonna look like this. So it's very self-explanatory. You're gonna put the date right here. First, you're gonna read it and see if this is legit for you. If not, you can make it and change it to your liking. I just put it up there because a lot of our people don't have access to computers. They're not computer savvy and they really want to get something easy to do and get out. So, this first page, you're just going to put the date up here. And I it's directed, this is for like an individual person, and if it's somebody that's a family, a mom, dad, and kids, or mom and kids, or dad and kids, or individual person. If it's just you date it up here and you list your name, spell it out neatly, your address and your telephone number. If it's just you, and then you're gonna read it through. And this page, you're gonna take all three of these pages, and you're gonna take this to a notary and get it notarized. Do not fill this third page out until you get to the notary, because they have to witness you doing that. That's the whole purpose. So once you do that and get it, you want to make copies, as many copies of these first three pages as you can, and staple it together. And then once you do that, I gave you a little cheat sheet, which is the fourth page. Um, you want to send this certified mail return receipt. You want to get those return receipts back. You know, when you get a letter in the mail and you get you have to sign the green card. That's how you want to send it to these people. So I started off with telling you who to send those copies to: certified mail return receipt, the governor in the state that you were born in, the mayor in the town you were born in, because that's where the crime was committed. As far as that's where the crime was committed. It wasn't committed, may not have been, and it's wherever you were born, and you were given us false identities. So that's who you want to stick with, who was sending a copy of this to. Because basically, we know what you did. We know what went down. We know why Indians not taxed is not being honored. But we're correcting our identity in this corporation. We're not going to be, I am not those names that you gave me, those false names. I'm not under witness protection, so I don't need a damn false identity. Okay? And this, you're going to send it to the governor of the state you were born in, the mayor in the town you were born in, the town commissioner of the Vital Statistics Office you were born in, the attorney general of the state you were born in. Send this to the president of the United States, the attorney general of the United States, the United States Department of Education commissioner. And I gave you his current name, Miguel Cardona, and that's his address. The Board of Education, to where your children attend school and college now. You want to put them on notice and let their asses know who your kid is. Don't teach my kid that he's no goddamn African. And it don't hurt to send it to the goddamn principal and superintendent of your kid's school. All right? And we all sent it to that damn HR 40 committee. And I gave you their address. The HR 40 committee. That's the address you want. You want all of them getting this. Send it in the loads. Now, I'm highly recommending this. So this is a cheat sheet. If there's more people in power that you want to add to that list and send it to, you send it certified mail return receipt. You got to declare who you are. You can't keep going on letting and living a lie for these foreigners. These are foreigners who came over here and did this in the scope of their employment. Foreigners came over here and said, "You're from Africa." Oh, hell no, you don't. You will not do that to the Aboriginals of this landmass. And you have to let them know that. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. You're doing it in a peaceful and humble way. You're not threatening nobody's life. You're not threatening anybody's life. You're not starting no war. You're correcting a false lie that's been going on for years and years and years. And you have a damn right to correct it. You have a damn right to put them on blast. And if I were you, I truly send a letter to the current Congress, letting them know that you stand behind uh, Congressman Santino, whatever his name is. Get the fucking African American force history out of the schools. Don't teach that shit because there's no African American there. Okay, well, Obama is an African American because he is truly have foreign parents, but that's not us. But don't enforce that life. If you're going to teach that in school, right, fine. Make it a damn elective because it's not my kid's history. So you will not do that. My kid's history is here. You want to keep hiding the Indians of this land, the real Aboriginals. But we're telling you, you're no longer going to do that to us. We're not going to hide. Got to take a stand. Everybody else gets out and takes stands and protests. You've seen all the women how they all went out and protest for pro rights. Get don't be trying to stop abortion and all that stuff. Facts. So at quiet time in your home, seriously, at quiet time when you have like time, uh, go to the library or like a Staples or have your friend make some copies at a job and staple all 3 pages together and quiet time because sending things certified mail return receipt can be costly. It can. So make it a goal to send 2 a week to the first 2 people on the list. Send it once every pay period. Send out 2 till you clear the list off. Okay. Now, I can tell you that it's going to take time to get it. In some instances, you'll get the green slips back right away. And some instances, you'll get them back 5 or 6 months later. Like we sent out a declaration like back in, I want to say September, and we just got the green slip back today. That's because Washington is just like busy and they probably get tons and tons of mail. But look, once you get it stamped, do not leave out that post office until you get that post office seal on this white slip right here. You make sure that that person at the desk stamps each one of these white pieces of paper. Facts. Because that's their guarantee that we're going to deliver these notices to who you want them to go to. Once you give it to the post office, they have a duty. They're a federal agency to get it to where it needs to go. So what I'm saying is this is doing something civil. And people look at you differently when you do it and you follow it in a manner that's civil. You don't have to threaten people's lives and all that other crazy shit. Do things just and get it out the way. I don't know, Sophie Murphy, but how would I feel about? Let me see. Sophie says, "My name is Sister Bethy. It's Bethy, not Bethany. It's Bethy. Is Beth with a Y at the end? That's my short name." But she says, "How would you feel if Black folks came together? First, we don't identify as Black, but I understand what you mean for the purposes of came together to get things like music, banned, and tobacco, alcoholic beverages being banned." Well, I don't think you're going to have too much luck there because I'm not going to be able to go because I smoke my cigarettes, honey, and I'm not giving up my tobacco. That's very Indian of me. Indians, we chew tobacco, we spit tobacco, and we smoke tobacco. So that's going to be hard. Indians, liquor, that ain't happening because all folks drink alcohol. They drink wine, everything. It's going to be a waste of time. And music is our soul. We are people of music. Music is our soul. So, in my personal opinion, I have to say it's a waste of time. I don't think you're going to have a lot of followers. You probably have some weird people that will follow you, and that people that don't watch TV and all that other stuff. Some weirdos. But I'm not giving up my cigarettes. Forget it. And people are not giving up their weed. That's not happening. And people are not giving up their wine and their liquor. Mm-mm. It's just not happening. Oh my goodness. Hang on, you guys. I have to take this call and then I'm going to go through my slides. I hate when people call and say, somebody called me. No, I didn't. I don't even know who you are. You dialed the wrong number. Okay, so you guys, let's go through these slides really quick because I want your opinion and then I will put a link in the chat. Okay, so you can come up. What started us against us and our culture? Or rather, what exactly is our culture? I we got to find out. So let me do a share screen. Go to my windows. Here it is. All right, I'm gonna start from the beginning. Our behaviors has always kept us from rising above the pain. Let's talk about it. Now, I I like to study pictures and you know, studying pictures and our people back in a time where we weren't born. You see this car right here, okay, with one of our ancestors in it. Um, what year do you think this car is about? 1800s? What year do you think this might be? This car. What year do you think this might can be? I know it's prior to 1921. Does anybody have any idea what year this car may be that this Aboriginal brother is driving with his wife and his little son in the background? I don't think. Do you think that's the 1930s in the car? That's a 1930 car? Is it? I don't know. What year is this car? And they said, we created that car. But what year would this car be? Because I'm looking at, um, this is uh, Black Wall Street before it was. No, it's not. I don't know. Maybe it is. I think it is. But it's prior to 1921. It's not 1921. I don't think that's a 1921 car. What year is this car? Can somebody write it in the chat? I'm looking at the clothes. I'm thinking this is the 1800s. Okay. So, okay, it is 1910. So, I'm looking lifestyle 1910. Now, this is after the fact. Back Wall Street. So, he was dressed nice. So, would you say that this family in this car is boule or hood? I'm gonna start asking questions. Would you say that our people that's in this car is Boule or Hood? Because it's like I'm trying to determine what brought us against us. Does this family were they are they Boule or Hood or Bougie? No, we got Boule too. We got the Boule. The Boule. There's Boule. The Boule is the Masons of our people. The sororities and colleges and stuff. 1890. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Because my grandmother, her my not my grandmother in the 30s, but my grandmother that was born in 1878. Um, she her outfits look more like that, and her hair, the way the woman wear her hair. Would you rank them as okay? Yep, Christian. Yep, I would think so too. So let's look at this now. Did we always have two choices in life as a people? This is uh a on the left is to my left are the Aboriginals um sitting on the ground outside of a church, okay, in the old days. And them same days, if you look to the right, these are the gangsters at the same around the same time. These are the gangsters in those days. Okay. And then on the left, you have your churchmen. So it's like we always had these types of lives. You got your gangsters from back in them days, and you got your church boys. It's always a separate, you know. And I'm like, well, damn. And look at here. You got young gangsters here. All right. Look at that old ass car. They're little gangsters. And then over here on the right, teenagers. And I'm like, I'm comparing these lives. I done went back to the 1800s. And now we're coming up to like the 19, I don't know, I guess over here on the right, that's probably the 70s or the late 60s, I want to say, just for that hat. But then these guys over here on the car, these are gangsters. All of them, both sides. No, I pulled up gangsters, Armani. I pulled up black gangsters, and that's what came up. Watch. This shit is crazy. This is our sister, Madam St. Clair. She's from Jamaica. Female gangster because she ran numbers. And you know what comes with that. And if you compare, it was always the hustle life against the Christian life. Now on the right over here, you have your 19th century. She's the pastor's wife. These two women are two different types of role models. I know, right? Future sell a little moonshine. Um, I you know what? Google uh black gangsters in the 19 or in the 1800s, and you're gonna get that photo. And it has actually a writing. I should have copied the writing under it. Armani, Google it. Now, look at this one. This is Aboriginals in front of a church back in like the 1920s. You can tell by the clothes. And then you see liquor stores in our communities. That's in Harlem. All the liquor stores. All right. Yep. And people hanging out in front of the damn liquor store. Then you got this other comparison. You ask, what happened to Big Mama? We ask. There's a picture of mother and daughter back in the old days. And then over there on the right, there's Big Mama. Okay? There's Big Mama. And they very much look so Aboriginal. That's Big Mama over there on the right. And mama and daughter over on the left. Now look at this. This chick is a madam. She's a queen of prostitution. And then you got little Kim over there on the right. It's like this is an olden day picture. I could tell this is like the 1920s or 1930s. She was no, you could Google her. She was called the prostitution queen. And then you got little Kim. Not saying little Kim's a prostitute, but these were not considered are not considered good role models. Then this is the old school family church. You could tell this isn't like the 1930s or 40s. And then the horrible scene and the color purple with Mister on the damn farmland. You know, I could imagine. Now, he lived in that house on all that goddamn land in the South, Mississippi, to be exact, right? And this is really interesting, right? Now, then you have how do we help? My question was, how do we help dad get back up? How do we help our dad? We have dads from yesterday over here on the left. And now we got all our dads over here on the right. It's just like, wow, fucking wow. I'm like, I compare and contrast. I'm like, right, it's me. That's what I said. She wasn't a prostitute, but she was not clearly not a role model for young women. Because that's what really started pushing off on on the 1990 babies. They got the weirdo, what's her name? Not Little Kim, the opposite of Little Kim. What's her name? I forget her goddamn name. She's like, oh, what is her name? Y'all know who I'm talking about. You got Little Kim and the other girl that got the butt shots. Well, both of them did. All of them did. But anyway, look at dads yesterday and now our babies, our dads today. And they're just filled in the prison. And it's like all the Aboriginals, all the Latinos, you know, they're just in the prison. This is what they do. This is where our people have consistently been. And refugee camps, what is nothing but a fucking prison. Facts. That's all a prison is. Can't leave. You're locked in there. Now, 1920s, okay, you got Bumpy Johnson. And and this is they finally got him. And this was in June 23rd, 1951. He was the godfather of Harlem. And now to the right, we got Big Meech. So I'm like, wow, this life has been going on for a very long time. And Bumpy Johnson, but he was born in Charleston, South Carolina on May 4th, 1906. He was 6 feet tall and 222 pounds. And then you got cute ass Lil Meech. Well, he's my age. Big Meech is my age. And then I discussed in the story, I'm like, okay, I'm sitting here when I watch this movie and I watch it, it's really in the time where we were living on our own farms and our own lands. Seriously. And shit like this. I mean, although this was a movie, our master of our house was our husband. And I am seeing other reasons why, other than us being forced off our land. Yeah, this movie is in a time where we owned our own lands because I see the outhouse right there. But I see other reasons as to why our family got the hell off their farms, living under a master like this. And I'm going to show you in a minute. All this land. Look at all this land. Okay. And Mr. out there with little girls. So I'm going to stop the share screen and show you that we got to understand what the hell was going on. We can't continue to be blind. We can't, as a people, continue to blame you, white man for our shortcomings. Now, did this government screw us over by dropping bombs on us and shit? Yeah, they did. Of course. Crazy as hell. But now, showing them two types of people in our community. You got the gangster life man, and you have those that were indoctrinated to Christianity. Are you that's straight up the division right there. Because Christianity or any religion is just not indigenous to the Americas. And so, because they did not want to allow us to practice our old ways, which was supposedly spirituality. But I like to learn a little bit more because I'm wondering what we was practicing. And it was so bad that we just can't practice it. And then it convinced so many of our people to accept indoctrination of Christianity. What was it about our way of practicing our spirituality that they needed to make it stop? I know it's voodoo, right? But me, I'm just like, okay, does voodoo really work? I mean, like, can I like send and put some roots of somebody and poof, they don't have any more here the next morning when they wake up? Or put roots on a woman if she slept with my husband, that kind of shit. Does it really work? Do those powers really work? I don't know. I'm thinking, obviously, it was something scary to get a group of people, for foreigners to be able to convince a people to revert to Christianity. Were the foreigners scared of our voodoo? I don't know. I don't know because I never practiced voodoo. But I also want to ask this. In studying our people, do you know that we sold our own damn people? Our fathers sold us. When they speak about families being sold, we was doing that shit. That was us. And I say this because we really have to stop blaming the white man and saying that he sold our people. We got to stop. So now, because let's look at this little clip and Color Purple when Celie, goddamn father, saw her to Mister. I'm like, well, I'll be goddamn. And I know it's a movie, but that shit is true. Let's watch this, y'all. And I know I probably will get like a community strike, but I don't give a damn. It's worth it. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only. So I'm going to show you where our ancestors was doing this shit. Our fathers. Now hang on, y'all.
I want to marry your Nettie. I got to have somebody right now. I got nobody to watch over my youngin. They be fighting and bleeding and
Fair
throwing up on
use.
the floor sometimes. Well, I got a farm to run. Now, I'm going to take right good care of your Nettie. I can't let you have Nettie. You're too young. But I tell you what, I can let you have Celie. She's old as any hour. She ought to marry first. She ain't fresh, though, but I expect you know that. She's spoiled. Twice. Celie is ugly, but she ain't no stranger to hard work. She can learn. And God done fixed her. You can do everything just like you want to. She ain't gonna make you feed her clothes. But Nettie, you flat out can't have. Not now, not never. Well, I ain't never looked at the other one before. Let me see again. Celie, Mr. Warner, look at you. Move up. He won't bite. Turn around.
Okay. So, right there, you saw, and that's the shit that went on our farms. And that's a fact. In the South, that's truth. He needed somebody to tend his farm. How did this? You know damn well he ain't no African, because Africans did not come over here and get farmland. We have to take accountability. Because not only when we send those declarations out, that not only justifies us, but it also takes the lying fucking story that white men came over here and sold us like that. Like that shit. When we was doing it ourselves because we were the farm owners. You can't blame white people that came over here. Bullshit. That's gotta stop. We really make we have to take accountability. We can't blame in that scene. We sold our kids. So now this little girl is forced to go and live with this grown ass man that got kids because his wife died. And she gonna raise his kids like she's a little piece of shit. That's the worth that our fathers thought of us. Not the white guy. Our own fucking blood. You got to Sally's ugly as hell. She's been spoiled twice. That means pregnated twice by his ass. I agree. It was our own people the whole fucking time. So now, I'm not relieving all the uglies that continue to be done to us because we are still discriminated against as a people. There's no lie in that. But with the boule or bougie or whatever, not always, it was always the bougie life or the street life. And I showed you the pictures. We had madams back then. I know we had madams back in those 1920 years because my aunt, the last one that died, she was Aunt Babe, my grandmother. She's like, so that makes her my great great aunt. She was a goddamn madam. And they had them, the madams in the 1920s, them little houses. Men could come over and get what they wanted and leave. She went to jail a couple of times. We had those two lifestyles. So the boule of our people had enough of that shit because they were trying to live a Christian life, which again was not Aboriginal to this landmass. But I can just imagine how we were towards each other before foreigners came over here. I don't think we were pleasant to each other. I really don't. I find that very hard to believe just based on today. It's like we don't take accountability for shit. But we just turn, oh, let's blame it on the white man. Yep, they sold us. No, we fucking sold us. We was doing that shit. We were heads of our household. We weren't, hold up. Truth to this. Let's put some more truth to this. We weren't even part of the corporation. So that says a whole lot. And this shit was going on at the existence of the corporation, but we weren't part of the corporation. They had no jurisdiction over us. So we was the ones doing that shit. Who else was doing it if we wasn't part of the corporation? What I can see is a little girl growing up, and then she becomes me at her age. I'm gonna go back and kill that motherfucker. He sold me when I was 7 years old or 12 years old or 14 years old. How old was Celie? She was 12 years old. I could see our little girl having hate in her and going back and killing, slitting her daddy's throat. I can see that because I can see me doing it. If I could see me doing it, somebody else could see themselves doing that. So that could be possibly a lot of the killings in the South too. You fucking sold me when I was just a little girl and I'm only 14 and this man did everything to me. Now I'm a grown woman. I'm coming back to kill you, you bastard. And you're supposed to be my daddy. And that's not what they teach in the Bible. You evil, you sold me. I could see that happening because I know if that was me, I would grow up and kill my parent. Probably would. So don't blame all those hangings on white people. Because remember, the boule was not in association with the street people. It was a separation. So I could very much well see the boule people in white sheets saying, let's kill them motherfuckers. They're destroying our kids and our sons. I could see that. Because guess what? It's going on today in our hoods. And the boule people can't stand people that's upright and in church. They fucking can't stand the hood niggas and women. unless you come into the church to get saved and turn your life around. But they can't, they do not intermix. It's two worlds. Not saying the church is so great, because the same shit that go on in the church goes on the street. We need to be accountable for a lot of shit that our ancestors was not telling us. And maybe because of granny's old little ways, it's not good for children to know stuff like this. Stay out of a grown person's place. Don't ask me about that. Do you know if your granny was sold and given away, pimped out? Because guess what? People pimp their kids out now. Where the fuck they learn that behavior from? Not just because they on crack. So they got tired of that life. The Boule said, you know, we got to get these motherfuckers out of here. Get them off the land. They ain't going to never change. And that's exactly how the Boule feels about our young men in the hoods. They have that attitude toward our sons in the hood. Fuck it. Let them kill each other. Them bastards. I can't stand them. Let them all kill each other. One less nigga we got to worry about. That's the voice of our people. And that's a fact. I hear it all the time. Fuck them. We can't save them, but let's try to save their kids. They'll kill each other, and then we end up with the kids in the state system. So that's what they do. Well, we can't save them because they out in the street and these niggas just doing it. And all of them got like 5 kids and shit. And they gonna die before they reach age 30. So we gonna have to just get to their kids and help their kids. And that's what church people do. They help a lot of foster kids. They take them in as their own. Pastor teaches them to do that. They're very connected with DCF and DSS, the church, yes. The pastor trained its members to take in foster children. So I'm gonna open my panel, and for those reasons, I'm not gonna fully draw my conclusion because I don't know if we'll ever rise back up and be entrepreneurs like we were during Wall Street times in all our states. I don't know. I do see a lot of brown children coming out of college with entrepreneur mindsets. There has been a change in the 1990 kid. I do see him coming out of colleges with entrepreneur mindsets. So maybe that'll be the change. And this generation that's currently existing, coming out from 25-year bids. I mean, because kids are coming out of college now and their father was or mother was put in prison back in like 1990. So now that child is grown now, coming out of college, and the dad's just now getting out of jail. They're releasing a lot of prisoners that sold drugs now from prison. And they had their babies just before they went in prison in the early 90s. And now they're just getting out. These are people who did like 25 and 30-year bids. And if they don't come out with an entrepreneur mindset, be real tough. He's going to be the guy that's on YouTube cussing people out because it's really the system made it very hard for him to get a job. And he'll be on YouTube cussing people out because of their choice in life, their backgrounds. It's really painful and it's sad. But I'm going to give you a chance to come up and let me know. I would really like to hear from you. Is there any hope for our community? I don't know. Would there be any hope for our people if we went on our own and had our own government, our own courts? I mean, are we strong enough, and how will we deal with our people that wants to continue the street life selling drugs and stuff? Will we have the energy to put them in jail for their crime? I mean, are we really ready for something like that? Because when you're talking about having our own government, that's a very powerful thing to have, because you see what goes on today in the world with the gang violence and stuff. How will we control our people? How will we handle that? And I'm just scared to say that I don't know if we'll ever bounce back and be our own government. But I don't know. Maybe somebody else has some ideas. So I'm gonna put the link in the chat, and I'd love to come up and hear what your thoughts are on this. Smash the like button, you guys. Hi, True. How you doing, sis?
I'm doing well. I just wanted to respond to your response and thank you for letting me come up and thank you for spreading the information today and getting people out of that the old mindset and giving them a new
Yeah.
way to look at what's happened and what's happening to them still consistently to this day and how they're just really programmed. Um, and you had the question of do I believe or do we believe that things can be redone or transformed into a better or greater or better best version? I'm gonna say yes. It's gonna take some work. It takes people like you. It takes people like me that are doing spiritual work. It takes all different types of avenues, all different types of people. And I
Yeah.
don't believe for one second that church is for me. That's just for me. That's other people
Yeah.
need church. I don't need that. That's for other people. And once you realize what the programming is that's going on and how a certain type of individual was being depleted off the face of the earth, that there's been attempts to do that. And with
Hmm.
every attempt, they can't. With every attempt of destroying it, it comes back on its own. It's a blood issue. It's a bloodline. It's ancestral.
Yeah.
You can't wipe out something. And first of all, the fair skins, which people call white or whatever, those beings weren't even noted till about 2,000 years ago. If you
Mm.
look at if you watch the little information, because I researched it, and they weren't around. These types of beings, the darker skinned beings, were around. And then something happened, and then these beings were put into place. So, spiritually rise, I'm going to say yes, it can be done. It's going to require people to create new communities. Goodbye, Dr.
Yeah.
Government. Goodbye.
Yeah. No, I
Goodbye,
agree.
Texas.
That make yeah, I mean, I I
Goodbye,
agree.
DMV.
Right. 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 I don't.
Goodbye, regular doctors.
Yes.
Goodbye,
Yes.
regular teachers.
Yes. We
Goodbye,
have to
regular
get
bus
out.
drivers.
We have to get out of the mess that they created, and it
Yep.
starts at home. It
I'm driving.
starts with
Sorry.
the education system. We were we we're strong. That's one thing I can say, because of everybody that have come here for refuge. I don't care what country you come from, you leave in your country for a reason. And if you come here for refuge, we went through hell with the foreigners, and we never left our country. We never left. We stayed. We're still here. We never left after all we've been through on our own land.
And
And the
that's
funny
and
thing
and
about,
that's
if
that
we
part.
knew anything about our African history, when we were forced off our lands in the South and into the hoods, how come nobody jumped up and said, "Hey, let's go back to Africa"? Nobody said that because they didn't know nothing about that. When when we were pushed off our lands and into the big city hoods, not even in the news media have you heard any of us saying, "Let's, you know what? Let's just go on back to Africa." We ain't know nothing about no Africa. But seriously, if you really think about it, I never heard Martin Luther King or anybody say, "You know what? I'm tired here in this America's. Maybe it's time for us to go back where our ancestors is in Africa." Nobody ever said that, because that just didn't happen. That's why.
And you
Where you
are
gonna go
correct.
where
And
you
I'm
ain't come from?
sorry, I'm laughing so hard. And
But
even if you research some of the leaders that have been put in front of you, such as Martin Luther King, on his days of where he was ending to be exiting, and I say exit because I don't say the D word. Um,
yeah.
he even admitted that the speech that he wrote, he didn't write that speech. He admitted that
Wow.
someone else wrote the speech. But you have to dig a little bit. He admitted that he didn't write it. When he's saying I led my people astray, what y'all thought he was talking?
Hmm.
Y'all thought he was talking about, oh, he just did a little bitty mistake. Oh no, he did a real big mistake.
Yeah, he did.
You you have to be able to read, and it's important to read because there's things in the ledger even now that's going on, that people
Hmm.
are sitting over here. I'm voting. Do you realize that your vote has already been cast on some of these things already? Your number's
Yeah.
already been drawn. But if you're
Hmm.
not educating yourself, or you're not aware of just the energy of what this is bringing to the table. Because first of all, they want to keep running under the same type of energy, and they can't. First of all, they've been wanting to take blood, urine, you name it, they want it from dark ones, because the blood
Yeah.
and all of this is so strong. What do you think the Henrietta Lack story was about? They've been doing that for centuries. That didn't just start with her. That's still going on today. How much vials of blood do they take? No,
That's why I
no.
don't donate blood. You know what?
I quit.
I never donated blood.
Quit.
And
I
when you
quit.
go for a blood test, why they got to take so many vials?
They don't. They're researching. They're researching. I could tell
I think
you.
they're vampires. They're vampires.
Yeah. You know what? And unfortunately, you're more than right. I just wasn't gonna say it. I wasn't gonna say it, but you did. Yeah, they doing more than a vampire. They eating babies and everything nowadays.
Oh my
Unfortunately,
God.
they and it's not even, there's no lies. So you can go on the CDC website. All you people that want to get the little shotty poos and the biscuit juice, go on the little CDC website. It tells you what's in the injections. They cannot lie to you. You have to say what's in there. And if you read what was in there, you probably would be just like, I'm gonna just take my risk. I'm gonna just run the risk of what it is.
That's crazy,
What did
right?
people what did people do before they found out they had a COVID with being sick? What did you do? What did you do before then? Before now?
Mm.
What did you do before you knew what the word was and you knew you were sick and all? What did you do?
Mm-hmm.
What did you do? You
Facts.
did what was natural. You go to who knows about it. You go to, unfortunately, you go to the Kunanderas, you go to the Brujas, you go to the women that know about birthing, you go to the doula, you go to the babas, you go to them because
Yeah.
you know who's got the information. And if you don't, just somebody knows the info.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I got to
I
say.
read so much research. A lot of the women are in our olden days delivered the babies right there in the house.
With no little to no problems.
Yeah.
Little to no problems. Because your body naturally knows what to do.
They already knew how to
That's
do
what.
that. And they ain't going to no
Yep.
school or nothing.
Nope. Nope. Because you don't need to go to a school for that. You know, there's certain things you need to learn, but you don't need schooling. I figured out that I didn't need a degree. Like after I got the degree, I was like, I didn't even need the dang on degree. What did I need a
Yeah.
piece of paper for? You got a piece of paper to
Exactly.
own the land. You got a piece of paper to say you have some letters.
Mm-hmm.
You got a piece of paper to claim a life.
Yeah.
There's something about paper. You got money on a paper. Listen to what
You
I'm
know
saying.
what?
Money on a
I hope
paper,
that.
lives on a paper. Yes.
Yeah. How about
Money,
that?
money, money, land, property, bodies is paper. Think about it.
Damn, it's something about the goddamn paper. You right. I never thought about that. See? That's why we gotta
And
all
paper
come
comes
together and put our heads together.
and yep, and paper comes from trees, supposedly, and sand and dirt and all that. So
Yeah.
there's
Facts.
something about paper. And now they want to get rid of paper. They want you to be digital.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Hey, panel.
Hey.
Hey, Sister Bethy.
Hi,
Hey,
Victoria.
290 Victoria.
Victoria. Hey guys, I can barely hear you. I hope you can hear me.
Oh no.
It's all good. Um, and I'm gonna turn my cam off just so that I can talk in the mic. But Bethy, true, you guys are on point. And Bethy, the only reason I came on to your video, the YouTube, is you are this title of your video is speaking to me right now. I've been trying to figure it out. I'm looking at the history, the American Indian history. I'm looking at our history of Christianity. I know that half of what they get, the good things they get from Christianity, a lot of it they got from the American Indian. And so I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, what was it that effed us up? And it was our practices. It was those things that we did before these people came here. And it was our ideologies. We did allow slavery. We did sell each other, and there was some humanity in it, and some of it, but it was the way we treated each other. It was the values that we put on certain things. We were the ones that like the bling bling with the beads and the, there's just so much that the American Indian did to himself that caused a lot of what we're still seeing today. And when you mentioned your aunt being the madam, I had that in my family too, unfortunately. And so I've seen it firsthand. Say it again.
A lot of us in the South did and brought it. We did. A lot of us did that in the South. The madams, I was like, wow. And I'm talking about in the old days.
Yeah. It was in my family in the late 1800s through the early 1900s. And it was like it was almost like they didn't care. It's like you said, selling your family members into slavery. And there's different types of slavery. So I just wanted to come up and just kind of back you up on that, because that is something that we as a people kind of brought on ourselves, and we already know. We know what karma is. So you put it out there, it is going to come back to you. So I just wanted to just add that part to the conversation.
Vicky, let me ask you this. Do you think that because of our behaviors way, way, way back then, doing this is the result of karma for what is happening to us today?
It could be, because you're talking about behavior. So when you talk about generational curses, that's a way of describing that type of karma. So it could be considered that. But we also know that the sins of the father doesn't have to go to the child. It's a choice. But unfortunately, there's people here, parasites here, that take advantage of our ways of thinking, right? So it perpetuates itself. And so there does have to be a cutoff point. And I think, the buck does stop somewhere. The choice, though, is with us. Are we going to be the ones that makes it stop? I know I've watched and I'm just going back in my family history. I've watched my great grandparents through my family, knowledge, self-history. I've watched my grandparents through actually interaction, because I was blessed to have been around them. And I've watched my parents, and I've seen so many things that each has done that and they're all good people. Like, we're all human beings are good people at heart. It's those things, those choices that we make. So it comes back to choices. So yeah, it is a form of karma, because it is a revisiting over and over again, generationally, that if you don't check it, if you see it and you don't check it, when you talked about the color purple and Celie and the things that she had to go through. I think that's why the movie was so heartening, because at the end she was able to break that curse. She was able to get from underneath that way of thinking, and it's a way of thinking. We don't have to be that way, but we see it happen day in and day out, not just in our own families, but in our culture. When you see people that's from the quote unquote hood, which the hood is everywhere. The hood is in the country. The hood is in the city. So how do
Yep.
you escape it? Again, it's our ways of thinking. We have to be the ones to cut those ties.
Mm.
So it's a form of bondage that, people say that your bondage begins in the mind.
Facts. I just feel, I mean, I know, and I'm gonna let you go, Huru. I know that we oftentimes cop out and use and say, "Oh, it's the white man's fault." We can't make everything their fault. At what point do we? At what point will we ever take accountability? It's just what.
Unfortunately, Bethy, we need to hear that it comes from somewhere else. I think that's part of the reason for that. We need to hear that it was someone else's fault. But and that's one of the reasons why I think there's this cover up in with our history, our self history in this country with the American Indian has been so far reaching. But to a certain point, you kind of have to look at it, and because I've been kind of going through that myself. I'm looking at my family history, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out, well, where did the breakdown begin? Where did it start? But I could see it through those family stories where they talk about people getting beat, where they talk about the wives getting beat, where they talk about the alcoholism and the
Mm-hmm.
the abuse, and that's where these things start.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, some of it was kind of brought on by the changes that we had to go through as a people,
Mm.
but we need to be better than that. We need to rise above that. And we were able to rise above some of the losses that we went through as a people.
Mm.
Um, we also need to rise above that mental damage, that emotional damage that we went through as a people, and find the help. Help each other. That's that's one of the things that has helped us to survive as a people, is helping each other.
Yeah.
And I think, there's a lot of things where they talk about the breakdown of the the Black American family. I'm using Black as a misnomer.
Right.
The American Indian family, the breakdown of our communities, how we worked around each other so we could help each other a lot better. But yeah, we kind of have to, I think, open up, in my way of looking at it, open up our third eye and see things a little beyond where we are now, so that we can uh, get to that point where we can start breaking these ties with that self hatred and that behavior that, when you see your brother hurting, where are you and with that? And it doesn't have to be solving their problems, but where are we with helping our neighbor? Where are we with seeing the opportunities out there for each other, and helping each other to reach for some of those opportunities. So I mean, it's just different things that we can do and different ways that we can look at it. But again, I just think you're absolutely right. People need to realize, we romanticize the American Indian story. We still doing that, and
Yeah.
that's us doing it. But we kind of have to look at the reality of it. Look at the
Mhm.
reality of who we are, where we come from, and
Mhm.
the things that we need to do to be able to get beyond some of the things, the places that we are now.
Right. I and I'm gonna let Huru go in 2 seconds. But what I'm finding, in researching that movie, Color Purple, where we lived on the farm like that, and you hear those stories of the raping and the beating. I'm afraid to say that I'm coming up to the conclusion that that was how we Aboriginals lived in our farmlands. And like I said, when we hear those stories of the rapings of a little girl and the beatings, that was mom or either dad whooping your butt. And that was Indian life. And that life sucked. And history is, or trying to make it seem like that was the white guy beating us. First of all, it wasn't enough foreigners over here to be doing that. And if so, I can't imagine our ancestors allowing such a small group of people beating us and get away with it. It just wasn't enough of them here to perform that type of behavior against towards us. So something's wrong with that story when I hear, oh, there was lashings and beatings. Well, you really think about it, if you had strict parents, we got butt whoopings. So those are the lashing and beatings that you're talking about. And daddy'll whoop your butt all the way in the house. Like if you just sit and listen, he would beat mom too. He was the master. He was the head of the household on all that farmland. And I can see that being one of the reasons why our ancestors said, I had enough of this crap. I'm getting out of here. And they run away. And when you hear those stories of a slave master saying they're looking for their slave, you know, it's really their kid that they're sending out who ran away from home, is trying to get the hell out of here, away from this type of lifestyle of living, because we weren't part of United States. So we were the ones doing those behaviors, and white people too, because they were head of their households. They were doing the same thing in their households. It was our system and our way of life. It really was. And we weren't part of the corporation, so we lived on our own. We weren't in their political system at all as a people. But I would like people to really just sit on that for a minute and think about it. It wasn't enough of them here to have that kind of power over our personal households. Our ancestors would have murdered them because it wasn't enough of them. But I I'm still researching and studying, but butt whoopings is what they're talking about those beatings and stuff. And the more I see it, the more I'm like, okay, something's not right here. A white guy and you got 50 brown guys on the land working. I can't see them allowing a white guy just to whoop some brown woman because she won't give him no coochie coochie. I'm sorry. I think this is why her history needs to be corrected, because you're blaming a white guy for something grandpa probably was doing. And I'm just going to yield for a minute. I'm still studying, but go ahead, Huru. You got the floor. I'm sorry, sweetheart.
No problem. It's such a hot topic that it bears talking about. And I just want to say hi to the panel and also say thank you. To the first part, I want to answer your question, just saying that I know we can govern ourselves. Hello. Hi, True 99. I know we can. And I think it just, we're only used to seeing how the corporation runs things, and what the corporation does is strictly for profit, for themselves, and it has nothing to do with benefiting us. So whatever we do, it's going to be better than what we are in now, because we're going to have the freedom to do it. What big part of what's holding us back is, like, for instance, in my neighborhood, I think I talked about this before, we had the gypsy vans, and they really helped the neighborhood. Like, it was so easy to grab a gypsy van and everything, but they were being harassed by the police. I know I remember myself saying this, but if we were not under their jurisdiction, we would still have that van plan, the gypsy vans, and they couldn't do anything. So that's one example I know where, as a sovereign people, we won't have the harassment of the police. We won't have it. So that right there, and so that was one example. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Sealy clip, and what I thought about that was that is an example of someone telling our story, and also it's telling our story at a point where we were at our worst. So
Right.
it's going to be an ugly story. It's going to make us look bad. But the truth is, we were being occupied, and our farms. I know you don't already know this, but I believe we were being squeezed out economically, and that's with the what they were doing was basically mechanizing farming. So I'm sure the farmers had to buy whatever these machines were, and they probably couldn't afford them, and that was done on purpose. So they're depending, on uh, you know, running a farm, but you're being systemically kind of squeezed out. There's a king that come over here, and for one thing, some kind of tribute is going back to him. So you're not getting your full profit in as much as they've taken over. So you're being squeezed out, and then it's just us not at our best. And then people start making movies, and we think we've always been like that. I just think that's a perspective that of example of our story being told by someone else. And I think about when they say how this is true or not, but I don't know why they would say it. But they talk about how Columbus was greeted by Indians, and we were said to be some of the kindest people, of something to that sort. And I distinctly remember that, and because I remember that's the part of the story that is so troubling, that here we are greeting these people, with love and welcome. We knew something about treating people.
But we've always been,
Yeah.
but Huru, we've
Yes.
always been good to foreigners, welcoming them in to our land.
Hmm.
But we we can't leave out the fact that those are things that went on
Right.
in our homes on the farmland.
Yes.
And I say that because, okay, um, why would why would we fight in a war to get rid of the system that we were living on in the South? Why would so many of our people join the North and
Yes.
getting rid of the system of farmland living? Why would they do that? And why do today, you know, like when I could think back in the late 70s, early 70s, and prior to that, where our people, our parents would beat us with like extension cords if we were bad. Where did they learn to discipline their children in that manner from? Where did they
Mhm.
learn that from? And please don't say it was a white guy. Where did you learn that manner of discipline from? Where did
I,
it come from?
what I mean, I know
Because
this is, yeah.
I remember as being a little girl living in the hood, those of our parents that were strict, we got butt whoopings with a device, whether it was a belt or an extension cord or a switch. We got beat and was expected to get whips so that we make sure that was a manner of discipline. Where
Yeah.
did that beating come from?
I would say,
It was
Sister Beth, yeah. I think as we were being oppressed, I think one of the things I've heard about being oppressed is that you take it out on those that are closest to you because you don't have access to the people that are, or the forces that are oppressing you. So I think a lot of it, how when say your father, or an example of a father who can't find work and he's very stressed out, and the first, that kind of dynamic started to take hold of our people, I think, and it became about alcoholism that I have alcoholism in my family. You know, there's it's like you're imploding because you can't lash out. You don't even know who your enemy is. Think about it, Sister Bethy. We've been in this system and we're just finding out what it is. Like we had no idea. I would say even 3 years ago, I just did not know what I know today. And
Right.
I know, and so we had these forces against us that we didn't even know what they were. So we just lashed out on each other because at the same time there's like a campaign against just being a quote unquote Negro. Like we're being sort of shown to the world as these, I don't know, these no good, like because we weren't Christian, or you know, they were, first of all, they got a programming that if we were not Christian, we automatically, you're heathen. So a heathen begins to be treated, you know, you're seen that way and you're promoted that way. You're being squeezed out economically. You know, your family, you take it out on your family, and that's terrible. But it is, I think it's kind of common across all races. But you know, it probably hit us really bad. We were being reclassified and thought. And see, when you ask the question, what made us give up the farm life? It's the series of like we do when the Democrats come. Oh, we're gonna give you this. Oh, we're gonna do that for you, and the poverty issue is going to be solved this year. Oh, the middle class, all the lower class. So you're being given a bill of lies, you know, and then you find out like, wow, I gave up everything for this, and now I have nothing, you know, and then that's another source of frustration and crime, you know. It's just, this system was it's like psychological, so it affects us psychologically, you know. I'm not saying we're angels. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we were a people that were blessed enough to be on the blessed land and have it be our homeland. Some good was going on, something good.
Yeah.
And then what's our downfall is people coming to take from us and not even have us know that they're taking from us. So it's
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know it must have started in the family, Sister Bethy. Like you, I don't blame the white man. When I hear what the Moors are saying, and I know the Moors are tired of me, and I'm tired of you too. So, but here I go. You know, you guys are telling the story of how the white man got here, and you think that goes unnoticed. You think you can work a psychology, and that doesn't go check. So we pissed. To me, when my first thought is we pissed off somebody in our family enough that they would go find a coupling or a union with a man that they literally genetically brought here, you know, to come against us. And so I know it started in the family, that I know, but I'm not sure it was because we were these evil people. I think it's a thing of the have and maybe the have nots. Maybe some of us had a little more or something, or we lived a certain way that made some of our people like, and that's common in our community too, you know, the whole jealousy thing. So then the ones feel like, you know what, I can't get over on you, but I'm going to find a way. You know, and then next thing you know, we kicking them out. Because number one, that's another reason why I think that whatever we were, it's the punishment does not fit the crime. I'll put it that way. Whatever we did wrong, this punishment was above and beyond and has nothing to do with God. Not a thing. You people like to tell themselves that it does, but when you rename the gods, okay, you can say that he's pissed off, right? You made him. So what I was going to say is, I know we were doing something good because those that we kicked out, they were the ones that did not want to honor our ancestors. And that's a basic thing for me. Like, I know that at least we tried, the ones who stayed, the ones, you know, who we knew that we did not want to give up on our ancestors, that we just, no matter what we were, as far as the ancestors were concerned, hey, you honoring me, you know, so you good, you fairly good. You know, we can work on the rough edges, but you're in the right, you're in your proper place. But we had a renegade group that said, no, we're going to change these ancestors. We're going to change their race. And we ain't, first of all, you ain't going to be reflected in that. We're going to change the race of the ancestors, and you're going to bow down to this. And we were like, oh, nah, no. We might have, whatever we were doing wrong, we got that part right. And so, and they've been keeping us away from our ancestors for as long as they could. And so it did start in the family. I will say that. It started because I think some of our people felt like they were being they were probably a minority, and they felt like, they're bigger than us. Maybe it was the Algonquin. The Algonquin was very large, and the Iroquois is very small. And it turns out that they're the ones that did a lot of the help of the, I'm not saying the Algonquins was innocent, but it really looks like the Iroquois had a special place of love in the colonizer's heart. That they took their version of a law of peace. And what I find so funny, Sister Beth, is that the most warring tribe is the one that makes a law of peace. That's that. I just find that priceless.
That's interesting.
They will.
I still am trying to just understand. When Dane showed the video and the one with Fannie Lou Hamer.
Yes.
Why would she run? Like, we weren't part of the United States then, but yet it's like she was fleeing from a condition of life and went before the legislators to speak because they wanted to get away. A lot of our people wanted to get away from the farm system.
We're being seduced by some good life up north. So what happens is when you look, it's almost like looking at a TV commercial and say, you can do this and you can do that. Come up on north and you can do this and you can do that. So they seduced us, and then all of a sudden your life looks like crap, but you don't realize what they're doing is taking you off your land. That was the first step to get us off our land. So I guess Fannie Lou got seduced. That's the only sense I could make of it. And she looked at it, and then with this thing about emancipation, so it's like, okay, so now the kids don't have to listen to the parents anymore because they've been emancipated.
In Connecticut, what they're doing is like, that was like the biggest wake-up call of history repeating itself, because in Connecticut, a law was passed where 12-year-olds can take a flu shot in school without the parents' permission.
And see, Sister Betty, that's a perfect example. Now, you're making something available that is not going to help these kids. If anyone knows what's in that crap, it's not. So you're emancipating them to kill them, to genocide them. And they don't know, they think, and Sister Bethy,
our people
in the South were frustrated probably because they couldn't, they were being inundated, and so they began to look like they were the bad guy. But the children don't know that your family's just trying to keep your land. All they know is, I cannot give up this land. I don't care how beautiful it looks up north. I can't do that. And the kids so there's a fighting in the house now. I want to go up north. I don't want to be on this farm. I want to live in a high rise. Moving on up like the Jeffersons. I had enough of this cleaning up shit. Working on this damn farm. It's dirty work. Yeah, but it's the work of a sovereign people who if we kept it up. Yes. And I still think they squeezed us out financially. Somehow they knew we had them farms, and the job was they can't prosper off them farms. So we got to do somehow we got to. So I don't think we were getting.
Yeah, because we weren't, when we were on our farms, I don't believe that we were dealing with their fiat, because we ate from the land and traded our vegetables amongst one another.
Right. So Sister Bethy, that's another great
cattle.
Sister Bethy, that's a great point, because yes, the money changed. So of course, when they're changing the money, they're fitting to make you a broke ass. That's what
so if they change the way things are going to be ran, and you're living off your farm, eating off the land, and you have all these acres of land, and your families are living on them. And the next thing you know, you get a bill in the mail from a system that
after you become a citizen,
a tax bill.
Yes,
and
Sister Bethy.
You're like, wow, I don't make money. If you're not accustomed to making money, how can you send somebody a tax bill when they don't generate revenue from their farms?
Yes, and their money system is a system where you owe them all the time, because just using their fiat, there's a fee on that fee. Like they're a corporate, they're a for-profit. The Feds is a for-profit organization, so it's not like the money is coming from we the people. They are supplying the money and saying, "Well, you got to pay me for the use of it." So it's a money system where you can only go in debt. That's all you can do with that money,
Yeah.
so-called money, is go in debt. So that's how they broke us down economically, Sister Bethy, I think. And if they were imposing all those commerce laws on us, that was like the example of the van drivers. Now, these guys were making a damn good living. These guys were making good money driving these vans. And it's almost like they were completely autonomous. But then they start making up laws where you can't do that no more. You got to pay us now if you want to do that. So they make sure that you cannot just make your money. And as in their system, because they consider United States citizens property, everything we own they feel like they're entitled to. So no matter how independent you are, you're going to pay us because you're a citizen. You're a you belong to, we created you. We created you, and you're going to pay us for that. So it's like, that's how they do. They got us in. Once we're out of that, then we can begin to really develop. Because what's going to end up happening is they're going to have to get these commerce laws that hold us down. They're going to have to be unlocked or take us out of lockdown. We're going to have to be able to do trade with other countries now. Come on now. We're a whole nation now. We're going to have to find some kind of connection somewhere, and they cannot impede us on that. They cannot. Trade will open up again. Trade will open up. It will have to, because, the system is so nasty. I mean, that's why I know it's above and beyond. Above and beyond. If we did anything that bad, the crime is way outweighing the punishment is way outweighing the crime very much. It's like, and the fact that they come at us so sideways, they had to create a whole religion to get us guilty. They had to get
because the religion was literally the religion was literally the law.
Yes. And Sister Bethy, there was some Indians that had no concept of hell. So the church had to teach them what a fiery, burning, brimstone hell is in order to get them to okay, so you make us sinners and then you threaten us with hell. Everything, And so it's like our system wasn't like that.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't. That was brought upon us. And
yes,
I mean, I understand our men. Oh, go ahead, True. I can wait. Go ahead.
There's there's the Willie Lynch, the book, right? There's that one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But there's also another book that describes how to program people to beat their own kind.
Oh.
There is a whole book made. I have it in my Amazon side book or Alibris.
Yeah.
It's a book about how to train someone to beat their own kind, to be with church, to be with state. It's a whole programming. So, and it says it's going to be passed down for generations. In this book, literally says it's going to be so strong that it'll go through every single generation of these beings. And they weren't talking about fair skins. They were talking about the darker skins. I don't know why I have reverb. So there is a book, and I'll send you I'll probably post it on your chat at the bottom. I'll give you the name of the book, and it tells slave masters how to start the programming from the generations before these generations now. And even then, it goes very deep. And that's why I say many parts of this is a spiritual type of bondage, because if you can bondage people spiritually, a whole set of beings spiritually, that's how deep you can go. If you can go that deep, they will get out, but not as much as you desire them. And then you want to program them to be just like mini-me. So you want them to be like this.
Yeah.
And these people weren't like that.
Yes. Yes.
Ever.
That element got kicked out of America, a whole priesthood went with them. It was so these priests knew all those rituals. They knew how to, bind people and transfer. I believe they transferred their sins to the people, and that is what they've done. And all they needed was for us to take on guilt. So once we can take on a guilt, they can sort of transfer their sin. That's why the whole scapegoat, like the idea of a sacrificial, something is paying for your sin. This is what the priesthood introduced because they needed it. So, in other words, yes, something has to pay for what was done, but if we can get somebody else to pay that price, then it's paid. We don't have to pay it. So we became the sacrificial lambs for that, our people that turned against us. They made us the sacrificial lamb to the world. That's the whole system of a lamb. The whole idea of needing a lamb for your sins. And then they tell us that Jesus, so that you already making it come from a lamb to what you're calling a human being, and that transfers to us, especially when we're jumping and running to be Christians. You're going to follow Jesus, right? And what happened to Jesus, right? He became a sacrifice. So are you. What happens to the deity is going to end up, they're going to try to make it happen to the people. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Mm-mm. So I think that's what they did, Sister Bethy. They transferred. We're bearing their sin. We're bearing the sin of, I hate to call the Moors out again, but you guys know a whole lot of stuff. And you know that because you're the ones behind it. That's why you know it. That's why you know everything. And you're so smart and you impress people with your smarts and your worldliness, and then we get called being worldly. Who's more worldly than a Moor? I hate to come for them, but it all roads lead to that. Especially, Sister Betty, when you're calling for accountability, yes, that has more written all over it. It ain't no white person. You're exactly right, Sister Betty. And the more I learn, the more it goes to the more. That's where it's going.
But then, I was speaking to some African sisters from Liberia, and they were telling me that it's like half and half over there, half more, and that's Muslim, and the other
Christian.
half is Christian. And
yes.
I just something.
They created both, Sister Bethy. The Moors created both. The priesthood created all three of them. So
but Moors are not just black. They're
right.
They're
right.
white too.
Right.
And I for the life of me, I don't know. I didn't want to make this segment about a segment about the Moors today. I think we did enough.
I know.
I just want to know. I mean, the two lives that our people have maintained, it's either been Christianity or the streets. And it's like that, it's like the biggest divide in our people.
Yes.
Right there, religion
yes.
and street life.
Yes, a religion that does
like
not honor
one
our
or the
ancestors.
other. And I don't know anyone that personally practices our original culture. Now, we do have our Southern ways, our foods and our family reunions, and that's very Indian, very Aboriginal. We do still keep that up as a people. Our family gatherings. But our culture, we need to get back and figure out some of the other things that we did as a people, because right now it's like our people are entwined into so many different cultures.
Yes.
To where it's like almost impossible for us to really see things eye to eye. We hate each other. And some of us are Christians, some of us are Muslims, some of us took on the Hebrew life, different,
Yes.
all different kinds of Christianity
Yes.
religions where
Yes.
it's
Yes.
like, wow, we are like
And,
severely divided.
and you know what, Sister Bethy, I'll say it's not that we judge, it's just that it's not for us. Like, I just want people who are identify as indigenous, that those religions were never, they were the ones that came and colonized us. How could they be
Right.
ours? You know, so who, if it anybody but our people, if I think it's very important for Arabs to have it, because the way it was designed, it's built on Muhammad, and Muhammad was Arab. And I think for Jewish people as well, you were given deities that look like you. We're the only people that are chasing deities that don't even look like us. And then there's
Facts.
this big debate
That's
about,
true. It is. That's true.
yes, yes,
That's true. And but I always had questions as a little girl,
yeah,
even going to
yeah,
church, because
me too.
not that I'm racist or anything,
Hmm.
but to direct me to pray, why? And I had a different outlook. What it did was give me like an inferior outlook on white people.
Yeah,
Like
yes,
I didn't think white people did bad things. I didn't
yes,
think
yes,
that I because they gave me a white man to pray to and said,
right, yes,
that's my heavenly
that's your
father,
salvation.
and,
Yep,
and I gotta go and pray to him in order to get to
yes,
his father.
yes.
And
Mhm. Well, Sister Betty,
in my head it's been drained that that's a white guy. You're gonna need to go through that white guy.
yes, and Sister,
And
yes,
it
Sister
wasn't
Betty.
nobody that looked like my
That's us,
dad.
right? And so you look automatically, and that's another thing that would make our people turn to each other. Like you asked them, Sister Bethy, what would make us treat each other so bad? Well, you got a white zaddy, you know, that you're not in his image, and he's all good, and you're the, and see in that see what troubles me about the whole Christian thing. People don't realize they're still looking at us like we are the people that need it the most. Like if you go
Yeah.
with that Old Testament, yes, because that's who's being called the slaves. The Bible talks about slaves, but magically that does not apply to the white Jews. Somehow magically we are given the narrative that you guys were the ones that were brought back to Egypt in chains. That was you, not. So it's like there's this weird thing where, like you said, Sister Betty, the white Jews get the good version. They don't get whipped and all, and their slavery was like in another century. Ours is current up, like in other words, we're still the ones who are being still punished. That the message of the Bible, if you really look at it, you got to take the Jewish story and said, okay, God dealt with them, right? And now they're prospering. Like, I'm just saying, someone who just looks at it at face value. It's like, okay,
Well,
so if
I look at
yes,
it, and none of it,
yes,
none of the positive parts of what I'm
apply
seeing
to us. No,
applies to us.
no,
Everything like in it is like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
somebody evilly has been planning
yes.
to.
It was a
It says
plan.
what they're going to
It was
do
no
to us from the
prophecy.
beginning to the end.
Yes, and then once we should know. To me, the big red flag. Now, King James started the colonies, and he also has a Bible. How convenient! How convenient!
Yeah,
So he
that's why I'm
made
like, wait,
sure that
because I
yes,
was like, are we? I was like, are we gonna get punished? I'm like, it must be us, because I'm like, we must be the devil,
that was
because
the
the
psychology, Sister
people
Betty.
that,
That's
yeah, I
the
said we must
psychology.
be the devil that
Yes,
the Bible speaks about, because I prayed to the white Jesus, but look at
we
all
get
this
yes,
bad stuff that's happened
yes,
to me,
yeah. We're
and
being told that we're slaves, and that slavery was
yeah,
due to disobedience. See, in the Bible,
it really
slavery is
messed
due
us up.
to disobedience. That's the part of the Bible that
Yes.
we're not
And
making
I
the connection.
Yeah, and I still see
Mhm.
people in church crying and shouting and stuff, and they're praying, "Oh Lord, thank you, Jesus." But
No
you
connection.
For
you
what?
you
For
you
what?
got you got infected with a deadly disease,
Hmm.
and you're gonna die. You've been poisoned, and they gave you something to
Yep.
psychologically have comfort. They gave you a cosmetic God to pray to. I
Yes.
I I I don't know. I'm just like, Something's not
I
right.
call it a sky I call it a sky daddy.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm like,
You can't
The
and
white
we
something
sky
don't
else,
daddy.
believe
and
that.
that's something that's outside of this body, like out of your
Yeah.
being, not you praying through your being, you praying through something outside of you.
Yes, because we were
That
born in
doesn't
Yeah.
sin,
make sense to me at all.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we were born in sin. We just, as soon as we came out the womb, we just sinned. So
Because
we
I'm
need
like,
to reach out to to
I
Jesus.
don't know. I'm
Sky
just like,
daddy.
I guess, like, at what point will our people wake up and realize that you go to church every day, every day, every day,
Your
and
grandma, your
you
great
turn
great
60
grandma.
and 70 years old and you die, and I don't know. I just am not finding that book to be for applying to us.
No. And I think that had a lot to do with our people. Like, to answer your question, Sister Bethy, if they were, and they were church people, right? So they were
Yep.
dealing, those farmers were dealing with a lot of guilt and a lot of sin-based narrative. And you were sinner, and that's why God is punishing you. And you buying into that, you know, it's like, it's very oppressive. And we are being, people, we're watching people come into our country and they get to do better than we are, and somehow
Yeah. Yes. I'm
uh
like, there's something wrong with this here.
yeah,
Um,
very.
uh, a lot of foreigners are coming over here and excelling. They
Yes,
come over and they get the best
yes,
jobs, and I'm
it's like
like,
they.
but they're still telling us to keep praying and going to church, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you barely have enough money
Mm-hmm.
to pay your rent and stuff. And
And
at
we
what
all.
point are they going to really wake up in church, or are you
Yes,
just using it to conduct a business? Because right
yes.
now, church is
Oh,
it's
pastor
just
does very
straight up
well. Pastor
business.
does very
It's a
well.
business. It's not
Yeah.
what you think.
Nope. Nope. That
I don't
pastor's getting
know.
paid to mislead, and you poor, he rich, and you wonder why he got the Mercedes, and you still praying for one. And it's gonna come every week. It's coming. Jesus told me it's coming. It says, hold on, it's coming. Oh yes, oh yeah.
I think that's
It's
like
always
I just
coming.
think it's like the dirtiest, most deceitful trick to play on a people,
That's yes.
on
It is.
people's intelligence, their minds, and
Yes,
like how could you do that?
yes, yes,
And they send us to these public schools, and the educational system, well,
that I
if
felt
that's
like
what
you
you want to
felt.
call it, it's like,
I remember feeling
no.
how you felt. The when I got that feeling that you felt, Sister Beth, you said when you were in church. I got it in school when they first started teaching about slavery. I remember being in class and feeling like, huh? I just remember I can almost remember the day when they were saying that we were from Africa, and I'm sitting in the class, and you sit in a class full of white people, and they showing you images of a white slave master and all of this, and it's like you sit in your classroom like, huh? you know,
Yeah.
I'm
And all
embarrassed.
those all those pictures, we would see when we was little, with a white guy with like a cowboy hat on and some suspenders, and
Yes, yes,
with a whip,
yes,
and beating us. I'm like, that was the
yes,
most horrible thing in the world you could tell children,
yes. Mm-hmm.
because now you see why little brown kids don't like police officers
Mm-hmm.
and have any respect for like white teachers, because you're showing them
Yes.
that
You don't care
they're the
really.
lesser people. And
Yes. Mm-hmm.
what you did was, first of all, you lied to them, because
Mm-hmm.
ain't nobody in their right mind that's copper cutter like me gonna allow a foreigner to beat their kid. I mean, that's
Mm.
just like basic parent instinct. Could you
Yes. Yes.
imagine
Yes.
a white master beating your kid? And mama, that's instinct for a mother. You ain't beating my child, they gonna go in there and
Right.
try to kill
Right.
you. So
Right.
that's how I
Right.
know it's a lie. And I think that,
Programming. Yep.
yeah, and I think that they need to stop teaching that because that's just not true.
Yes. Yes.
Because
And
and you need
mm-hmm,
to understand who the slave master was.
mm-hmm,
It would make more sense to tell them the truth that it's your daddy.
mm-hmm,
It's
mm-hmm.
your daddy.
Or somebody your daddy sold you to, you know, you
Yeah.
know.
And I don't know. It's just they need to stop teaching that shit in school and don't teach it at all. Let it be an elective because I don't want my children learning that shit because it's a
No,
lie. I'm going to teach
it's
them
a
the truth.
lie.
We
Yes.
allow us to teach our children the truth. And
Truth.
it's not going to, it's not that, oh, if they really felt that if we taught us, my generation, the truth, that it was going to really divide whites against black. We was divided before that already.
Right. Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you understand that when you teach that history like that in school, that slave story shit, that's why the brown guy and the white guy don't get along. It's the white guy's
Right.
like, my fucking parents were not slave masters. They were uh they were indentured servants. So I don't know why brown people are believing this shit because it's not true.
Right.
You're literally
Right.
blaming it on a
Mhm.
history that's supposed to have happened
Yes.
on a white person that came over here in like 1870.
Yes.
So
So
how was his parents a slave master if they got here in 1870?
right.
So right there,
Right.
you should know it's a lie.
Yes. But they
That don't
know
even
that
make
the
sense.
power of images. They know the power
Yeah,
of images. Like think about TV, Sister Bethy, how the TV is on and it's just constant programming, commercials. That's like what school was. You just you kind of fall,
Mhm.
you think the teacher knows what they're talking about. You feel, well, the teacher must know, and they teaching the young people. Notice it's the young people that they need to get at to create this generation, you know.
yeah. Well,
So
the
in
problem
college,
is
I did a paper on institutionalized racism, and it
Oh,
involved poverty in all the levels. So when I started researching this, I had to learn the history of America.
mm-hmm,
mhm.
And what I came to found is the schools are built like prisons structurally. The people that are
mm,
running the schools are very, very, it's the same as if it was a prison. So,
right.
Yeah.
and I couldn't take that out of my head because I ended up working at a prison like 30 years later. And I'm looking
Yeah.
at the way the prison is set up. And when you go to
Oh,
structurally look at it, it's just like a prison. School is just
oh
like a prison.
wow.
And do
Like
you
a
know the
prison,
Program.
yeah.
kids? I've been a substitute teacher. The kids even tell you school is a prison. Why
Yeah.
would
Oh,
kids say that unless they know that?
Because
right.
So
look
a
what they
part
have
of,
to do. They have to
yep.
sit down in that seat for all them hours. They have to behave. They have to fold their hands. They have to do their work. They have to be
Yes.
quiet. And it's like control.
Yeah.
It's like more
Yep.
control than what the parents have over the kids.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
for the life of me, I really hate to bring this up. I'm trying to figure out why a little 6-year-old kid wants to harm his teacher. Like what just
Hmm.
happened.
Oh
I don't want
shoot.
to say what it is. Why would a
Hmm.
6-year-old
Okay.
kid do that to his teacher? A 6-year-old? It takes thinking and
That
planning.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, it does.
okay, I understand we're putting everything on this baby for doing that thing, but excuse my French, what did the fucking teacher do that bad to want to make the child do that?
Yep. Yep.
Was
Yep.
it something in her
And you know,
spirit?
I
Was
talked
she
to some.
continuously evil to him?
Hmm. There you go.
Was
Because
she
I talked to some
and just didn't like
administrative staff
him?
about that. Hmm.
Mm.
And there's
I'm
clues
trying to figure
before.
out. Six?
Hmm.
Six? Well,
Hmm.
I can remember when I was 6 years old, and damn,
You didn't have
Wow.
that in your thought unless you were being abused.
Right.
If you're an
right.
abused
That's the
kid,
only
you're in an
time a
abusive environment.
6-year-old. What Yeah, will want like revenge, a revenge on an adult, and you're a baby.
And we'll never find out if he was vaxxed or not. That's a whole other dimension. Was he vaxxed?
I don't know. I don't
They don't
know.
talk about that. They never
That
talk.
that.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
we're hearing strictly the teacher side or the news media side. But
Yes.
Well,
I
what
would like
happened?
to
They didn't
know the
talk about the
story of
kid.
I would like to know what his story was, why he threatened his teacher. I want to know, what did he say to her? Did he say, I'm gonna do this to you for
Yeah,
doing this?
something is not
Something
adding up.
happened.
Yeah,
Something's not
something.
adding up.
And if the
No,
story's not being, and if the
And was
story's
the
not
little
being
black
told,
kid? Was the little black kid?
yep. And
Was
if
it
the
a
story's
little
not being told, you know
Yep.
something.
little black kid?
Yep.
It was a little black kid.
Mhm.
Oh
Yep,
my goodness.
it
And if they're
was.
not telling the story, there's a good reason why they're not. Because you know they
Why?
love to blast. They love to blast it when it's incriminating. They'll tell it till till they can't tell it.
I would really like to know more detail. I'm sure it's gonna come out. The parent is probably
I'm
gonna come
sure.
out and say,
I'm sure it is. And
this is what
yep.
happened. I
Yep.
really want to know what's gonna happen. Why that little boy did that.
Yep.
And you know
Yep.
what I was saying on the feed earlier. You know that prisons are mental institutions.
Yeah.
They're under that umbrella. When they first
Yep.
started them, they were doing the brain, the brain surges.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they became modern now. Now they're doing medication. So
Yep.
to
Yes.
me, they all they did was change out the structure to make it different. To make you're doing the same thing.
Well,
Big
they
They're feeding
laboratory.
them certain kinds of food.
It's a big laboratory.
Sterilized my husband. They sterilized my
Oh my
husband. My
gosh.
husband had kids from medicine.
Oh
They
my gosh, I
sterilized.
believe you too. I'm
Oh yeah.
telling you, it's like the Tuskegee Project all over again.
Yes. And I think the whole vaccine program from beginning is I know, common sense is telling me there has been something going on for a long time that we just didn't
We just
we never
don't know
thought about
about.
it. But yeah, who the hell knows what
Oh
they were
yeah.
putting in our body all
Yeah.
these years, all this
Oh yeah. Well,
vaccine.
if you got inoculated as a baby, they
Hmm.
already started in on you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Yep. Yep.
You're already inoculated as a
No.
baby. So we can blood wise we can track you. Blood
Hmm.
wise, doctor wise, we can track you now. You're a number to us.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
we can look up your whole history through CDs to the California Health or whatever state, the whole system itself. They have a whole system base. The way
Yes.
the shots have been given, I'm not going to say too much, but you know how I'm going to say this. Since I went to college and they taught us how to do a scientific project,
Oh,
first of all, you got to give 100% of the medicine. Then you're going to give 50% of the medicine. Then you're going to give a group 0%. That's how you do a study.
Yes, because you got
Yep.
to
And I'm
vary it.
not
You
going to
don't
say
want
nothing else further
everybody.
than that.
I know. I've always felt that. But three of them came out. Remember, True. There was three different. You go from
Placebo.
no vax to three. How about that?
But we're
I do
gonna
not know that.
we're gonna end it right here.
Oh yeah, we getting in that red zone.
Yeah. This was a
Yes,
really, really,
that's a good
really
way.
great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Did that true, girl, you hit it. You hit it. Um but you know what? I'm gonna put my email in the back. Private. Let me do this really quick. Okay. Hit me up, sis. But this has really been a great segment. And again, the question today was, what started us against us in our culture? Rather, what exactly is our culture as a people? And I would hope that if you have time, maybe you could go back and maybe do a rewatch and just think about it, because this is where we use our common sense. We this is how we study ourselves as a people. And we it's something that we really need to look into because we got to find out, continue to find out how to cure our people. Um, because right now we hate each other at an all-time high level, and it's just horrible. And I don't believe that that's our culture. I don't. Something happened. Something happened, and I I really want to get to the bottom of why we have such a street life. Um, so we just got to keep looking into it more. There's been a lot of damage done, a lot of damage done, and we have to look into how to fix this problem. Um, we have our future kids coming up, and they see the world and life totally different from how we see it. We do not see the world the same way as our kids. Our kids that were born in the 2000, they have access to so many people across the world through gaming, online computer. So we were a close confined people. We didn't get the opportunities to really socialize with people of other races and cultures. So, but fast forward to now, these kids speak to kids from other countries and they just do not see the world the way we saw it. It's a new way. It's scary and it's different. I guess maybe our ancestors said that about us too. When we began to, I don't know, each generation is just different, and it seemed like every year it's just getting weirder and weirder. And I don't like, what I don't like is how this government is giving our children the power to make decisions beyond their parents. It's like we can't be parents of our kids. It's like the government is giving our children power that, I mean, like, excuse me, we should be able to tell you yay or nay to vaccinate our children. To, I don't know. You got
Definitely.
any closing statements, Uru? But
No,
we
I
need to
just
look into this.
no, I just enjoyed when you were reading the declaration, um, and just thought, then the question is, it's a great question because it's so much of this blaming of the white man. It's tiring. It's so tired. It's so weak. It's so weak. When you take responsibility for crap, that's when it changes. But you keep
Mhm.
blaming somebody else, ain't nothing gonna happen. But you just gonna sit there and blame that person for everything. I'm tired of blaming white people. And I don't even see them
Yeah,
anymore.
that shit is crazy. I don't blame white people for our
Yeah, no, no,
shortcomings.
no. They're
We
just the face of a
mm-mm.
bigger game. Yep, they're
That
just the
shit
face. Yep,
is played out.
yep,
It's
yep.
really played out.
Yes, yes.
Really.
Yep. It's like we see them marching okay, the Black Lives Matter wasn't the greatest thing, but there was a big turnout of white people for that. And if we don't see that, then something is wrong with us. If we
Yeah.
continue to think that it's the people just en masse and not the government, then something is wrong with us. And that's like you
Facts.
said, we got to look and see what's really happening. You know.
Facts.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Simone, let me read your statement and then I'm going to get on up off of here. It's the news machine brainwashing the kid that got the teacher was not who you think it was. A photo of a parent and her son that had nothing to do with that situation. Wait a minute, sister, it's the news machine brainwashing. The kid that got that teacher was not who you think it was. A photo of a parent and her son that had nothing to do with that situation. Huh? You understand that?
Yeah, she's saying that it was a fake, like it was
It
they
wasn't
made it.
real.
Like you remember that incident, Sister Bethy, with that Rittinghouse, and everybody thought that the white guy shot black people, and it turned out he shot white people at the Black Lives Matter movie. So it sounds like she's trying to say there's some kind of misrepresentation going on, like that the
Oh,
people.
Simone said it was a white kid. It was not a black kid.
See,
Thank you
this is
for
just
clarifying that, because when I saw the parents standing outside the school, it was predominantly white people,
that
maybe a
was it was
few.
meant to look like that.
Oh,
Probably meant to look like that. Yep. Yep.
well, we'll find out. So they're saying this is fake. Oh,
You
we'll
remind that
find out.
like Rittenhouse is bad. Remember, everybody thought he killed a black person. That
Yeah,
guy
yeah,
that was
yeah, yeah,
crying on, and he killed white people. And everybody
yeah.
thought that he. I think that was some kind of experiment to see what do people think when we show them news this way, And everybody thought he shot a black person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Wow, interesting. Well, you guys, smash the like button. I'm gonna get on out of here. It was great.
Okay. Yes,
Love
it was.
y'all, and
Love
I'll be
y'all.
back. We gotta revisit this at some point. But I'll be
Yes.
back with some lectures. I got some more
Yes.
slides that I got made up that I want us to dig into. But thanks for coming out and joining me. Smash the like button. Love y'all. And I am out of there. We will hang out for 1 second. We are
Okay.
so out of here. There we
Yeah.
go.
Okay. Night.